All right. Is anybody counting down on the recording? We're live. Okay. I I just have to ask because Katie sometimes comes in and it'll like count upward to zero and then start recording for her. So I just gotta check. But hey, we're live and we're doing our very first interview of season two, which is very exciting. And God willing, I'll have the whole thing cut together and it'll be up on our Spotify page on Tuesday to start the season. Woo!
Woohoo!
So, Shelley, welcome to Booked on Night, our little itty bitty corner of the internet here. Very nice to have
Thank you for
you.
having me.
Yes.
Yes, thank
It's
you.
great to have you.
So, we are talking about Brewed with Love, which is a YA cozy romance, which I've read some of. So, we're not planning for a lot of spoilers today when we play our games because I'm not done. So, you can't spoil things. It's not fair.
Okay.
But can you give us a little pitch just to get us kicked off for Brewed with Love?
Yeah, of course. So Brewed with Love is a YA romantasy about a teen witch named Sage Bishop, who works at her family's apothecary and is desperate to save it from this kind of like giant um, superstore in the next town over. And while she's working, the store gets robbed, and a cheerleader gets dosed with one of Sage's tonics. So she has to investigate and figure out who broke into the store and figure out how to try to save her family apothecary from this superstore, all while trying not to fall for her ex best friend turned coworker, Jimena.
Yes. Him, like, the awkwardness between the two of them is so palpable. I feel bad for both of them. I'm reading through it because I always read at night and I'm just like, oh, oh, I can't read this before I go to bed. I'm so awkward. I've got such secondhand embarrassment for the two of you. Just talk it out. Uh,
I know, yeah. It's always fun to kind of write that like teen like avoidance.
yeah. The avoidance is real. It's just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
so what inspired the story behind Brood with Love and how did that idea take shape?
Yeah, so I was actually first inspired by the town. So this story is set in Black Claw Valley, which is like a tiny, it's fictional, but it's a tiny coastal town in California. And it's like framed by redwood trees. And that kind of setting was what first inspired me to write the story because my mom used to live in a small town in central coast of California that kind of had like a similar feel to Black Claw Valley, and I was thinking like, wow, this is like a perfect setting for a story, and I would like really enjoy kind of like exploring the different dynamics in the town.
Hmm.
And then I also just like really loved the trees there, the foliage, and I was thinking like, well, I really like magic. It should be like something magical, something to do with the trees. So it's the magic system that like came to me first. Whereas, what if the redwood trees have magic and kind of like are giving magic to this coven of witches in the town, and they all have magic based on the redwood trees, like based on the properties of those trees. So someone in the coven can regenerate the same way that trees can like regrow limbs,
Hmm.
regrow branches. So that like idea kind of like formed the coven. And then I knew there had to be some sort of like cozy mystery. So then, yeah, it kind of just like fell into place after that.
That's great. We have a lot of small towns around here, and so
Mm.
like I don't want to be like every small town is the same, but they all have very similar qualities. Like everybody knows each other. There's that one store everybody goes to. Nobody wants to see that particular store close. We go here for this, but there for that, even if they're the same kind of store. Like I I do love seeing that on page just cuz like that exists around me as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That kind of feel is exactly the place my mom used to live. So it's like there's just that one, that there's the one gas station and like two competing convenience stores. So it's
Yes.
like it's very cozy, and I'm hoping it feels authentic because that is like those are real places.
Yes. It does. It feels very authentic to me. I live
Yeah.
between two small towns, so it's perfect.
Yeah.
So, Brewed with Love also celebrates LGBTQ plus representation, which ties into your work as an attorney helping homeless youth. Did any experiences from that role directly influence the characters or the themes?
That's a great question. Nothing directly influenced it. I think where I draw most of my inspiration from for my characters is kind of like their hopefulness and their liveliness. And, all of my clients are unhoused youth, and they have like so much spirit. And I
Hmm.
think that idea of like keeping hope alive, even in like you know, kind of dire situations, is something that I carry throughout the book.
Hmm.
So I think that's kind of how I would, say I've been influenced by my job is that none of my characters are completely like downtrodden with their circumstances. Not that that's not absolutely okay to be,
Yeah.
but I try to the keep the hope and the excitement up.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then we did touch on this just a little bit, but there's a big role in the story that the setting plays. And you did mention like your mom kind of grew up around that, lives around that. So I think you kind of touched on how you chose that. So I'm going to skip over that question and just kind of go like, what do you think that it adds to the narrative?
The setting.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think so. What I really wanted was for Black Claw Valley to kind of be like a character in the story. So that town itself is very like alive. We
Hmm.
know the um we know everyone that lives there. Sage kind of like is friends with um all of the workers in town, and that idea of community kind of comes back into play later on in the story. So I won't spoil it for you, but there is that idea of community, and that's like one of the main themes I would say in the story. So we do see Sage like reach out to her community and utilize um, those connections that she has in order to you know change and succeed.
Hmm.
So
I love that.
yeah.
And then real quick, we're gonna break recording just so that I can isolate the games.
Okay.
Yep. Yay. And then we're gonna go right back to recording. Yay. And we're recording again. Yay. Okay. So that brings us to the very first game of the podcast. And, new year, new games. I made this one up over the holidays when I should have been spending time with my loving family, but oops, oh well. So this one is called Space 'em or Embrace 'em. It's the game of tropes, plot devices, genres, and even character archetypes that we love and those that we want to launch into a black hole. So I will be giving you some popular tropes, and you're going to be telling me if it's staying on the ship with you or if it's getting shot out the airlock. And of course, there is a catch. There's always a catch in every game that we play. You can only keep four,
Okay.
and you can only see two at a time as they come up on the screen. And before you even ask, yes, you can shoot them all into space if you want. You're like, no, these tropes are terrible. They can all go. So the first two are The Chosen One and Love Triangles.
Shoot them in the space.
Both of them right out the airlock,
Oh.
right off the bat. The next two are Magical School and the Loyalty and Betrayal tropes.
I like both, but I'm concerned that I only can choose four. Okay. Um, shoot them into space.
Both of them also into space.
Oh.
The anti-hero and horror.
They're staying. Both of them are staying.
Both of them are staying. Anti-hero stays. Horror stays. So you have two spaces left and more options. So we have graphic novels and rags to riches.
Space.
Both of them in space.
Oh.
And the last option that comes up is small towns.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Can I grab one that I've shot back into
No, it's
space?
gone. It's gone. It went out the airlock. It's in the
Oh,
vacuum of
no.
space for forever. You can't. Have you
Okay, I
ever
only
seen
have
stuff get
3.
launched out the airlock? It's gone.
I
It
have.
just goes.
There's no tether.
There's no tether. There's no tether. It's just gone.
Completely merciless with shoving all of them out.
Yes.
I
Oh
was
my
like
goodness.
scared that I was gonna like have 50 to choose from.
Oh my god. And that brings us back up to recording again.
Oh,
Next section of interviews by Maggie.
perfect. Okie dokie. So, what do you find most difficult about writing, and how do you approach overcoming those challenges?
That's great. Actually, so much. I would say the first challenge that comes to mind, honestly, is having time to write. Um, because I'm an attorney, so I do have to work during the day, and then I try to write during lunch. But then I also try to like, go to the gym during lunch and do other things like during that like time period. And I do write at night, but I also try to like decompress. So it's kind of like really difficult to try to find time to write and make sure that it's enough time to actually be worthwhile and not just 20 minutes and kind of, never even getting anywhere.
Yeah.
So that's my big uh struggle, I guess you could say. Um, and then the other challenging thing, honestly, is usually the magic systems for me. I like magic, and I love that. I love that magic can be a metaphor for so many different things. But it's hard to make sure that the magic system is actually making sense and that um, other people can understand what's going on in what I see happening.
To be fair, magic systems are hard to create.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
not only by yourself, but like Maggie and I tried to write one together, and we were both like, let's make it insanely complicated, but also no, let's not do that. And then we found we had way more questions than answers, and I think,
Yeah.
we, as readers, we're all like, oh, well, this magic system makes no sense. How dare you? But if you ever try making a magic system, you'll find there's so much to it, and it's not just like, well, she has this power and it comes from X. Like you have a lot of who, what, where, when, whys, and everything else, and that's
Yeah.
definitely a struggle I have with my own fantasy writing.
Yeah, I think that's the big struggle for most fantasy writers. And it's
Yeah.
kind of like how much do you use and is this relevant to the
Mhm.
story? So that's something I'm constantly like thinking of as as I'm drafting.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
And
I don't know. I mean, I hope it gets easier, but I don't think it will.
yeah. And the other thing I want to say about magic systems is as you get there, you have to find a way for it not to be like magic ex machina, right? Like it can't just come up and solve problems. And sometimes it just causes more problems than it's worth having a magic system. And you're like, you know what? Contemporary, nobody has powers. The end. No dragons, no
Yeah.
castles.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that hurts my heart. No dragons. dragons, no castles, no
I
magic.
I didn't say I
Ugh.
like it. I just said it feels like I might want to do that. I
Yeah.
would never because boo, no
Yeah.
magic, no dragons. Boo, boo. But yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So your characters are so vivid and relatable. What's your approach to developing them, and do they ever surprise you?
Mm, thank you. Well, as I kind of was mentioning, like I like the idea of like bringing in a lot of joy and a lot of spirit into my characters. Um, so I'm glad that comes across. They surprise me all the time. I kind of am. I like to say that I'm a plotter, which I do plot like the structure, but I don't really plot on a scene level. Um, I plot like by chapter maybe, or like by like larger scale, like first act, second act type of thing. Which gives me space to explore and to have my characters kind of like make decisions and get into trouble, and they definitely surprised me. I think um, mostly I'm surprised when in the romance when it's like I'm feeling like, oh, this scene is like they're really getting close. And I'm checking, checking my timestamps and seeing like where we are in the story. So that's always a surprise, like how easy it is for the characters to kind of fall together and like pull apart. Um, so yeah, that's definitely like the exploration part. I'm like, oh wow, they're having a really cute moment, but it's not the midpoint, so
Right, right.
better not have them get together.
And then finally, how do you balance writing with your demanding day job as an attorney?
Yeah, I honestly am still figuring that out, but I write on the weekends a lot, so that's kind of like my uninterrupted time. And I like to write on Friday nights, which was like last night for me. So I do try to write when I know that I'm gonna have several hours. And then I think I'm a little bit strange in the sense that I don't write if I'm not actively like trying, like actively on deadline, or if I'm not trying to like draft something new. Like I don't, if I have a book idea, I don't immediately start working on that, even if I have the time. Like I like to take breaks. I try to only draft once or twice a year. I can't like churn out multiple books a year. Um, and I think that gives me several months of like breathing room, which is what I really need.
And that'll be a break before Maggie gets into the second game of the podcast.
Yahoo! Alrighty, so this is a favorite game here at Booked All Night, and it's Never Have I Ever Spoiled My Own Book. The game is simple. I'm going to give you 9 lovely little prompts that you may or may not have done, and all with bookish and writerly themes. If you have done 5 or more, you must spoil something about Brewed with Love. And as a warning, we are not above things like never have I ever written a book with called Brewed with Love. Alrighty, so number 1, never have I ever not finished a book I started.
Um, I have done that.
Haven't we all? Uh, Number 2, never have I ever rewritten a scene or chapter multiple times until I was satisfied.
I've done that.
It's two.
Number 3, never have I ever read a book because it was popular even though I knew I wouldn't like it.
Yeah, I've done that.
Never have I ever bought a book on release day.
I have.
Never have I ever lost track of time while reading and stayed up way too late.
Yes,
That
I
is
have.
5.
That is 5. We
Uh,
still got 4 more to find
these
out.
are rigged.
Yes. Yes, I fully admit this game is rigged. There's no
Heard it
hiding
here
it.
first, folks.
Yeah. You heard it here first and second and third. I admit it every time we play this game. This game is rigged.
All right, let's finish out. Never have I ever written fan fiction.
I have.
Never have I ever binge read an entire series in one sitting.
I have not.
I find that a little hard to do. You know, you've got like several books.
That's a lot.
That,
Yeah,
that's
I
a lot.
think that's like 10,
If
12
we're not
hours. If
like,
it's,
yeah, if we're not like talking about like middle grade or something
yeah.
shorter.
Yeah, I think it like ultimately depends on the series because there have definitely been ones where like especially when I was in high school, right? I bought like full series of Forgotten Realms and I would just be like, yeah, let me read 9 books this weekend. It's totally fine. I don't need a social life. But like I don't think I could do that with Tolkien, right? And like I did that for a class. I still don't think that I could just do that in a single sitting. So like but give me a
Yeah.
middle grade series, I'll read that in a day. So
Yes, yeah, that's fair.
Never have I ever used a book as a prop for a social image.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think you can be on, you know, Book Talk,
Yeah.
Bookstagram, anything without
like
sharing
I
pictures of your own books
I fully
and
admit
your
the game is
shelves.
rigged, right? I've said that. The game is rigged.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't deny this.
And finally, never have I ever written in a book, which includes underlining, highlighting, and making notes in the margins.
I do that every time. Yes. Yeah.
Really? I always feel like I want to, but I feel so like it's sacrilegious. I don't want to write in a book.
I do it with pencil because it makes it feel better, but I never go back and erase it. So I don't know why I'm doing that with pencil. Like,
I
Like
highlight.
give me a PDF
oh,
of whatever I'm reading, and that I will highlight and write and whatnot. But it's the physical book. I can't. I spend good money on that. I want to keep it in
yeah,
pristine
that's fair.
condition.
Well, see, that's my thing, right? I spent my good money actually right now because I'm broke beyond belief. I spent my husband's good money on the book, and it's mine to do with as I please. Like I don't write in library books. I don't write in books that I borrow.
Yeah.
I don't like those aren't my books.
I
That I don't
think
have the right to write in those.
I think if I ever learned that you wrote in a library book or a book that you borrowed from like me, I think our friendship would just be over and with no hope for recovery at that point because that is just
It's
only an animal does that,
yeah,
Jessica.
seriously. I feel like the quote here now is like I can excuse dog-earing pages, but I draw the line at writing in books that aren't yours. And somebody in the corner goes, "You can
Yeah.
excuse dog-earing pages."
That's me. Alrighty, that brings us to the end of our second game. And I believe that
Yay!
is time for a pause in recording
Yeppo. And then we'll go right back,
with our final questions.
just so I don't have to cut these up later because I'm lazy. Okay.
Yeah, make it easy for yourself. Work smarter, not harder, you know?
Indeed. You heard it here a million times. Work smarter, not harder.
All right, so our last couple of questions. What are some of your all-time favorite books or authors, and do they influence your writing style?
Oh, that's really great question. Yes, I have a lot, honestly. And some of them influence my writing style, and then some of them I think I'm just indulgent and I just read without even thinking about writing, if that makes sense. Like I'm just reading for like pure pleasure. But I really like Lee Bardugo. I think like she's like a fave. what I really enjoy about her writing is that it feels like every character is like very well rounded and like very like fleshed out, and like has a backstory and has like this like like character wound, and it's just like very like admirable, I guess. Like I wish my characters felt like that. um and I really like reading Alexis Henderson. She writes horror.
Mhm.
Most recently I think Academy of Liars was one of was released this year, and she's someone I read just for like just for fun, just for pleasure. Like, but I think, um, yeah, I love a horror book. And then Caitlin Starling is also another horror writer that I just like read for fun. And yeah, I'm like an auto buy.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think those are like three people on the top of my head. I have so many more, but yeah.
I always I always think it's funny that like the people that write like cozy mysteries and cozy fantasies and like these sweet little stories are like, yeah, and so on the weekends I read things where people are brutally murdered and monsters pop out of the closet. And then I go
Yeah,
right back to writing about sunshine and rainbows and
very
unicorns.
true.
You need
Yeah,
that dichotomy in your life, the
You do.
variance, you know. You
you
Yeah.
can't
do.
have light
Yeah,
without the dark, kind
Yeah.
of, you know.
yeah. It's funny, like my like favorite authors are like just like pure horror. Like
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, as I used to say in my MFA program, after reading things where people die horribly, hi, I'm Jess. I write for children. So nice to meet you. Yes.
Distinctly remember the question coming up in regards to you, how much murder is too much murder?
The answer is
Turns
seven.
out, 7.
Seven. The
Seven.
answer is seven. For one of my
Specifically for middle grade, I think.
yes, it was. Yeah, it was. I had started a piece was a gender swapped Sherlock Holmes for my master's
Oh,
project, and uh, then I wanted to move it up to YA because that's where all the sex, drugs, and rock and roll is, and I was like, I could get away with a little bit more than what I'm doing. And originally, people were getting suspended randomly for like little infractions, right? Somebody chewed gum, you're getting expelled. And people were like, that's, excessive. And then I moved it up to YA and I was like, oh, well, all of these expulsions can now be murders. And I basically just did like a find and replace. And then I was reading through it and I was like, how do none of the adults have concerns that all of these kids are dead in like 2 months? And that was when we came to like, oh, how much murder is too much murder before somebody notices something's going on? And the answer is seven. Seven murder in 2 months, and somebody notices that something is going on. So I had to drop down some of the murder. And it just,
Unfortunately.
yeah, fortunately, I dropped down some of the murder exactly. It just came down. So So our next question is if somebody were to write your biography, what is one quirky or unexpected detail that you would want them to include?
hmm. I would want them to include that I also oil paint.
Ooh,
I'm an
Ooh.
oil painter.
oil paints are
Lovely.
hard, man.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Like, good on
Yeah.
you. I
Thank
just did
you.
a bunch of illustration classes, and some of the people like to use oils, like stuff's due Monday, and they have to be done two
Yeah,
weeks ago,
that's
so it's dry. Like,
yeah, that's fair. I think there's ways to kind of like there's like to make speed up the drying time, but it's not a medium that's like a last minute like
mm,
last minute attempts. Definitely not. No,
yeah.
like it
They're
take a long time.
crazy and messy. Like
Yeah.
my classmates would come in just covered in paint and like, "Oh, you came back from the oil studio?" Yes. Like it just it they always kind of look like somebody got caught out in the rain, but the rain was oil paints and it's just all over their clothes. Like
Yeah,
there's
it's like so hard to like keep that off of you. I don't
yeah,
know.
and there's a fallow, like the fallow blues and fallow greens. Like if you get those on you, be prepared to have them on you for life because they will immediately stain anything that they touch. And like I still actually have I don't know if you can see it on my, but under, yeah, my camera sucks.
Oh,
You can't see it under there. But I still have phthalo paint under my fingernail that will not come out
wow.
from months ago. And like I have scrubbed. That stuff is there.
It's
It's
part
a
of you
part.
now.
Yeah, it's a part of me now. It's a feature,
Yeah.
not a bug. And
Yeah.
Congratulations.
it's there. Ugh.
All right, our second to last question. If you could recommend one underrated book that everyone should read, what would it be and why?
Underrated?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Ooh, that's difficult. Ah, I don't know. I would say like a book I would recommend is probably one that like most people have heard of. um, Let me, can I like quickly check my Goodreads?
Yeah, go ahead.
Of course.
Okay. Let
Lord
me
knows I
see.
check everybody's Goodreads and stalk you guys for playing these games.
I'm like, let's see if I can find. Okay. Um, yeah, I'm not sure if any of these are underrated because I'm pretty sure everyone has heard of these. But a book that I can tell you a book I really, really loved and
Okay.
that I'm sure everybody has read by now. I'll give you two, just in case. But so last year I read This Is How You Lose the Time War, which was absolutely amazing. I think before it kind of like I don't know, had this explosion on Twitter. It might have been like overlooked, and um, someone was like, "Don't look anything up about this book, just read it," and that got like a million
Yep,
likes on
I
Twitter,
remember
and
that.
then you remember that, yeah, and then it
Yeah,
was
that was. I
like,
think. I think it was like his name was Big as Dickus or something
yeah,
ridiculous.
and
Was
then
it
just
really?
like
Yeah,
yeah, like just like
it
the
was something
strangest,
like
like yeah.
he had like a One
And
Piece
then
icon as his avatar, and
yeah.
it became a hit.
And then it like was like back on the bestseller list. Like it was like a bestseller like that next um week. And it's like
Wow.
Yeah.
so I think like it that was and I read it and it was such a fantastic book. I would definitely recommend it. Don't look anything up. Just buy it. Just read
Just
it.
buy it. That I wish more bookworms put stuff out like that. That they're just like,
hmm
don't look anything up. Don't read the back copy.
Yeah,
Just
don't read
open
the
this book
copy.
and read it. Just
Yeah,
read it.
just start. Just start.
Because there are so many books that like I've never read, but I know the entire plot to them thanks to the internet. And I'm like, but now I can't read it and enjoy that. You have ruined this for me. The only fandom that I accept that from is the Akatar fandom because the memes coming out of them are just perfect. I love a fandom that makes fun of itself. Like, you guys are gold. I love it. And then we end every interview with shout outs for all the lovely people that helped us get published and get the book out there. So, are there
Absolutely.
any fellow writers, agents, editors, or any publishing friends or professionals that you would like to thank today?
Yeah, and I hope I thank them in my acknowledgments. I have like a long list in there as well. But obviously, shout out to my agent, Rebecca Potos, amazing, and my editor, Bria Reagan, for taking a chance on me. And I have a lot of author friends that have read different versions of Brewed with Love that I hope I mentioned in the acknowledgments. But um, Jenna Miller was someone that taught that like told me about outlining, which I think like has really changed the game for my writing career. And I like use the outline that she recommended like years ago. Um, and then Jen St. Jude is someone that like has read a version of this book and that is going to be part of my book tour in 2 weeks. So I'm really grateful that I get to talk with Jen about the book. And yeah, there's so many people, honestly. I cannot keep track. But I think, yeah, I think just like anyone that follows me on social media and that has been like really supportive and like, you know, if it's Twitter retweeting or like posting, you know, and tagging me in post on Instagram, it's just been like fantastic to see all the love and support I'm getting for this book. So
Oh, yay.
yeah.
That's
wonderful.
exciting. And just to
Thanks.
check, Brewed with Love comes out January 14th, so pretty soon.
Yeah, it
As
comes
of
out in
this
10
recording.
days.
Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
Do you have any like pub day plans?
I do. I will be in New York at Books of Wonder. And
I've been
that's
there.
where
It's
I'm
fun.
having my launch event. So if
Yay!
you're in New York, please come. I believe the event starts at 6. And it's a joint launch event. So we'll be celebrating Brood of Love and Liar's Kingdom. And then I am going to be in Chicago that next day. Chicago's my hometown. So I will be with Jen St. Jude at Anderson's Bookshop talking about Brood. And then I will be back in California and at several places here actually. In LA that following week, I will be at the Rip Bodice. But I'll be at Mysterious Galaxy on Thursday. I
Got a
think.
busy couple of weeks for this. That
Yeah.
is nuts. You're doing the
Yeah, it's a
whole
lot of
country.
traveling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just two plane rides. But
Too many plane
cities.
rides. Too many plane rides.
Yeah.
No.
You don't like plane rides?
I am not a fan, no.
Okay.
Which is funny because like I used to go flying with my dad as a kid, and like I was fine as long as I was flying the plane, but I don't like anybody else's takeoff or landing. Nobody does it right. You guys all suck. And like once we're up in the air, I'm fine. But those 2 moments are like my heart explodes. It's not great. And I have a service dog at this point, and he's never flown, so I have no idea how he would be on a plane. And I know how he is on the train. On the train, he just gets up on the chair next to me and sleeps because he's lazy.
Oh.
Lazy boy. He is asleep next to me right now, so
My dog is also asleep.
yeah. It's
Typical.
International Puppy Dog Nap Time.
Oh.
Oh.
I think we require some dog tags for our socials now.
Yes, dog tags.
If you wanted
okay.
to
Yeah.
upload that up to the Discord.
Yeah, either put it on the
Gotcha.
Discord, shoot us an email, dog tax. Dog tax is required.
Okay. I will
Cat-
send you several photos
Yes.
Perfect. We
of
love it.
my
Yes,
my
absolutely
sweet,
love
sweet
it.
potato.
And producer Rob, cat tax for
Cat
producer
tax.
Rob. Also,
Is Tiger in the room with you?
yeah.
Aw.
Aww.
Last thing, of course, we would want to have, one of the cats just meow.
Listen, sometimes we're recording and like he'll turn his mic on. You just hear the cat on his lap just. Like, what is that noise? Oh, my mic's on. Sorry, hold on. Like, it's always funny. But yes, that is our interview. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for everybody watching at home. And I will do my very level best to get this out this week, because by the time I get the episode out, I can say that your book comes out next week. So that is
Yay.
very exciting. Congratulations.
so
And thank you so
much.
much for joining us.
Yes, thank you
you
for
so much
having
for
me. This
being
was so
here.
much fun. I loved the games. That was
Yes.
great.